are live. Yes, I think we are live. Okay, awesome. So welcome back to Firebug number 2, which is day 3 because we're starting with zero base. Today's raw rehearsal session was pretty rough. We're still cloning Planner. The last we left things, we were able to transition things back and forth between the backlog and check stuff off and on, and have them be date specific. That was a really good day, but today we had a lot harder time implementing the monthly and weekly routines that you see over here. So we're not going to do that just yet. I think I need another session to really nail that down. But what we do want to do is, I did not like what we were doing before with the app component. Let's just pull it up over here, because the app component was doing this thing called prop drilling, where I'm taking current date and I'm sending it down to main, and then main was taking current date and props and then sending it down to its children and not really doing anything except for passing it as a date picker. So that's something I don't like with the current setup, and that's something that is solved by the new context API from React 16.3. So you may have seen that from the React docs. They've announced it recently. It's only launched on March 29th, so relatively recent. People have been playing around with it, and honestly, the best 2 resources I found is Mannerisms, which is another YouTube channel I strongly recommend. And Elijah Mann is gonna bring you through all the other stuff that appeared in React 16.3. But in particular, I also want to draw your attention to Wes Boss's videos and his repo here, which shows a really good pattern for using the context API, which is essentially context gives you a provider, right? But you wrap that provider in another provider of your own for the sole purpose of bundling actions that go together with the state. So the actions modify the state, and you pull them together when you use them. So context, for example, context to state.age, context state name, context to grow a year older. All here. Watch this video if you want to see more context. But we're actually going to use this exact pattern in our app and see how we can avoid prop drilling. And that's going to be the entirety of this video. So it's going to be a short one today, but it's going to be good. Okay, so right now we have a functioning app, and I'm going to break it. What we're going to do is actually take out. So our app, our top level app, currently has this current date moment in there. So we're going to take that out and actually put it in a current date context. I'm going to have 2 windows because that's the best way to do these things. And I have a artificially large font size right now. So hopefully you can see things because I am making this for you. Let's also import React. You know what? Let's just go here. You import React. React itself bundles react.createContext. So that's good. And then we have this class myProvider stuff, which I'm going to just import wholesale. The provider has a state. Our state is just current date. And then the provider also uses myContext, right, and passes in this .state, which is just that object. And then it passes this action, which for us is handle date change. Wes, in his example, defined it within the provider, but I can also define it here and just pass in this handle date change. And the benefit of doing this, and then I'm going to export both of these things. I'm also going to, instead of calling it my whatever, that seems fairly generic, I'm just going to say current date provider and current date context. Cool. So the benefit of doing all this is, well, there is no benefit right now. Let me just finish the example. So I think we're done with this. So now we have a standalone file called current date that lives alongside app.js, but you can call it independently. This is essentially a singleton, and we're only ever gonna call on current date context or current date provider, which is essentially a thin wrapper around React.createContext. Okay, so import current date, import current date from / current date. Okay. I don't need this anymore. Don't need this. Don't need this. Don't need this. It's not a function of saving lines of code. I just shifted that code over here. So not rocket science. And then I think I discovered a bug with the Firebase provider where you have to elevate it to the top level. So I'm going to do that, and then now I'm going to use the provider, right? So the export default is current date provider, and then the export const is current date context. So I'm going to do essentially similar to what React and React Component does, but here we're concerned with the provider. So let's do the provider. I'm going to provide everything to the rest of the app. So anything inside here has access to the context. And then within the context, for example, if I want to use this, and I have something, and I need, the current date, what I do is the structure current date. Is this right? No, I want state current date. And then I'll go something like this. Have I dealt with all the, what have I done? So Pretty does like that, which is great. But I'm going to have broken the app. Well, I don't have to have broken the app because I can also replicate that for the main, which expects a current date. So here I can just pass this in and hope that everything is fine. I need handle date change as well, which is simply coming from here. So with that, I've essentially ripped out all that state from app and pushed it into this current date.js file. And let's hopefully see it working. Current date.toDate is not a function. I get that a lot. Current date.toDate is not a function. What I want is to set that to default of function. Well, basically the initial sort of render, this is getting an empty state, so I don't want it to render. But I ran into this issue before, and if I recall, that was not the issue. So how I want to debug this is I'm going to ask for console.log current date, current date. And then I'm going to call an or there, which is a very nice trick to. Okay, so I should get a null. No, I get an object. I should get a moment object. I'm getting a blank object. So I'm doing something wrong here, and I'm not really sure what it is. So I'm going to undo all this fanciness that I'm doing here, and I'm just going to call context, and I'm going to show my context in here, and see what's up. All right. Oh, current date.state. Okay. well, refresh. Okay. La 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 la. Yeah, so context has state, and then handle change. So I should be able to pull out current date dot moment from here. I am not sure why I cannot just destructure state and handle date change. I may have screwed up something in terms of my understanding of how to do nested destructures, which is probably a good argument for why you should not do nested destructures. Okay, I should have another error below, which is exactly this exact same error. So let me take care of that. And see this working. All right, let's not worry about this one just yet. But so again, we broke the app and then we fixed it. But what have we really accomplished? We're using the context API, but so far it's just added a few lines, and we haven't really got much out of it. Main.js still is doing all this like prop passing, which is probably not something that we want. So I'm going to continue and essentially just rip out all this current date stuff because I don't need it anymore. Rip it out, rip it out, rip it out, rip it out. And I'm also going to refactor this into its own thing so that I don't have to look at it. And calendar just has like nothing. I want this. Also, I want these two things. And then I want class export default class extends component. I don't need to name it since it's a default export. Render, turn, whatever. Because I can use the, okay, so I've ripped out all of the props here. There's no reference to the current date. I also don't need to pass it in anymore. Fantastico. This is just for show to show you that it still works within a single file. But now we're doing like a multi-file refactoring. So I hope you can sort of keep up. But if you get lost, you can always replay this video. That's why it's a video. My secret is I actually don't believe in live streams. So I find that I like to watch things at 2x speed when I get it, and then I like to slow things down when I don't get it. So that's you. This format lets you do that. So we're going to use current date context, and let's use a hint from where we've already done that. Blah blah blah. Not state and state change. Okay. Wow. So I think that's about it as far as the new calendar component is concerned. Let's look at this again. That's very nice. So and then let's repeat this for the to-do list. There's a little wrinkle here. To-do list uses the higher order component format. And the map props to Firebase relies on the props having a sense of current date. So I need to inject it earlier in the cycle than inside to-do lists render method. That's where I would normally put it, but I can't do that because I have a dependency within the map props to Firebase. So I have two options. Essentially, I could undo what I did yesterday with regards to moving all this prop reading back into the app itself, and so have that logic moved out. Or I could wrap this and pass stuff along. So there's no real right way to do these, but I'm gonna do the wrap. It's lazier, but also cleaner. So that's what I'm gonna do. Const HOC, I'm just going to call this. That's a lazy name, but it does communicate that it's a result of a higher order component, or I guess it is a higher order component. And I'm also going to spread out the props that I receive. So that's well and good. But apart from this, I'm also going to need to use the current date context and pass it in so that they can use that. I'm not explaining that very well, but you get my meaning. I need to essentially artificially wrap this so that when an HOC gets this, it has the prop to operate on as expected, as we sorted out last time. So I don't need handle date change here, strictly speaking, or even non-strictly speaking, but I do need that selected property, or that whatever I need that current date property. Okay. So current date. And I should have a working app again. Right? Wrong. Nothing's ever that simple. What have I messed up on? Have I forgotten to return things from render? So this is a functional component. Look at that. What is that? That's junk. That's what it is. Of course it thinks I haven't returned anything from render. There we go. Prettier likes it. Okay, so we've just refactored our app to use the new context API. And we're very happy with how things are communicating between components. These are all siblings, and this is communicating. My actions here are communicating to the top level, and it's all done with linking to this one file, which is in current date. So that's the new context API. That's a very quick refactoring of an entire app to use it. Hopefully that was helpful to you, and we'll be back next episode with adding more features, and that is, and this is going to be available if you always want to pick up the code. We started off with the end of day 1 final, and we're going to commit day 2 final now, and we'll keep working. So in the meantime, feel free to subscribe or give a shout out on Twitter. Firebug fam is the Twitter account, and I'll see you later.